everyone, this is Hannah from Wonderful Woodlands, and today we are going to be doing a knitting pattern, a full knitting pattern, and we're going to do a cute little strawberry flower. I'm working on one of these for a baby hat that I'm working on right now, so I thought since I have to make a couple of them anyway that I would show you guys how to do it while I'm doing them. So for our supplies here today, we're going to be using a smaller size needle than what we've used in the past. These are size 3. I use size 3 needles for a lot of my embellishments that I do because it creates a really nice tight knit. So we're going to use a size 3 needle today, and these are in aluminum. And then we're going to be using Lion Brand 24/7 yarn in white and in lemon. So we're going to set the lemon off to the side, and we are just gonna use white to get started. So this is more of an intermediate level pattern, although it's not super hard. So if you're newer to knitting, I'll still tutorial everything as I go. And if you want to give it a try, it's really not super hard, but we are gonna do a long tail cast on today. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna cast on 30 stitches. We're also gonna be knitting in the round. So just a fair warning, that's kind of the direction that we're going. For 30 stitches, I usually use about 1 arm span worth of yarn, should give us about 30 stitches. If you're doing a longer cast on, there's ways to measure for how much yarn you're gonna use, but I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it here, and I think this should be okay for about 30 stitches. So for our long tail cast on method, I'm a little bit lazy and I don't actually use a slip knot. I just like to loop my yarn over the needle for my first stitch here, and then I pinch it with my thumb. Now the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna catch, I like to catch both of these tails here with my bottom 3 fingers, and then I'm gonna take my thumb and my pointer finger, they're gonna go through, so you catch here, you're gonna go through the middle, and you're gonna loop the ends over your thumb and your pointer finger. And then you're gonna pull this down this way. We're gonna go under, over, under. So we're gonna go under this one, we're gonna go over this one, and then we're gonna come back under this one from the far side. You're gonna catch this loop and kind of wiggle your ends here to tighten up. Let's do that again. So catch your tails here, catch your yarn over your thumb and your pointer finger, make a little V, and we're gonna go under, over, under from the far side, and then catch your loop, and then just wiggle this to tighten it up. Catch your yarn, we're gonna go under, over, under, and catch the stitch. So we have 4 stitches here, we're going to 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually we're not going to 30. Right now we're going to 12. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I have said this in other videos, but I will say it again in this video. If the long tail cast on method is not working for you, just do a knit cast on, which we've used in our beginner videos, and your pattern's still gonna turn out great. Now that we have 12 stitches here, we're gonna take 2 stitches because we're knitting in the round today. We're gonna take 2 stitches and we're gonna pass them on to a new needle. This is the way, I don't know if other people do this, but this is the way I set up for my knitting in the round because I think it's just what works for me. I think it's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so now that we have 2 stitches on this needle, we're gonna keep casting on to our second needle here. You're gonna get your yarn back, pinch it with your pinky finger, loop it over your thumb and your pointer finger, and then we're gonna go under, over, under, and wiggle the ends to tighten. So we have 3, we're going to 12 again. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So what we're doing here, we're casting on 30 stitches. Let me give you instructions and then I'll talk. We're gonna move 2 more stitches onto our next needle. So because we're casting on 30 stitches, I'm doing 10 stitches per needle. And so I always cast on however many stitches are going on to the needle that I'm working. I always do whatever number I need plus 2. So because we're going for 10 stitches, we're casting on 12. So we go 12 and then we move 2. And then we go 12 again and then we move 2. So now we're only going to cast on 10 stitches to this needle. So I only need 8 more because we're only going for 10 stitches and this is our last needle. So we have 2. We're going to go under, over, under, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And now we should have 10 stitches on each needle. I'm going to count real quick because sometimes I count wrong and it's not fun to go back and fix. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Okay, now we are going to line these up to start knitting in the round. So move your stitches so that they're kind of right in the middle of your needle. And then the needle with the tails coming off the end is going to be the end of the round, not the beginning of the round. So you want to line your stitches up here. You want to make sure you don't have any twists. We can see here we have a clean line from our cast on row. No yarn is twisting here. So this is going to be the start of our next round. So we're going to flip this and this is going to become our, the needle that's going to sit in our left hand. So now the first thing we're going to do, the first row we're going to do is going to be a purl row. So I like to set this up before I worry about my yarn tails. So you're going to bring your right needle through like you're going for a purl stitch. So it's coming through toward you. Okay, for a purl row, we need our yarn to be on the bottom. So make sure your yarn is coming through from the bottom side of the needle here. You're going to take your yarn, you're going to wrap it around and catch it on the back and then slide your stitch off. The first one's always a little bit loose and that's okay. You can pull it snug to keep it tight, but it's just going to be a little loose and that's okay. So second stitch here, we're going to purl, catch your yarn and slide it off. Some people like to use a marker at the beginning of their round so that they don't forget where they started, but I just always look for my yarn tail. This is the marker that I use, so I know once I'm back to the beginning when I hit the yarn tail. Okay, that's our first needle. Now we're going to do our second needle. All purl stitches, super easy. And our last needle. And last one. Okay, real quick here, you're gonna wanna take this and just tighten this up. Just give a little tug on the end. That'll keep this stitch nice and tight. So that's the end of our first round. Now our second round, we are gonna do all knit stitches. So another row that's really, really, really easy here. So this time we're gonna take our yarn, remember we're gonna move it to the back for a knit stitch. And you're gonna come through this way on your needle. Wrap the yarn around, catch the stitch, slide it off. Needle number 2. Remember, keep your yarn in the back here. And our last needle. Last one. Okay. Now we're gonna do two things. This is where this pattern gets a little tricky. We're gonna switch colors. So I don't like to cut my yarn until I'm sure that I'm done with it. And I am sure that I'm done with it, but sometimes I get to the end of my pattern and I find out I've messed something up. And so I usually wait to cut my yarn until the end, just in case I need to go back and fix something. So I'm not gonna cut my yarn yet. You can cut yours if you want to, because we are done with it. We are gonna switch to lemon though. And this is going to be a decreasing row. This stitch is a little bit more complicated. It's really not that bad though. So I'll show you what we're gonna do as we go. Okay, now we're gonna switch colors. So if you've never done a color switch before, it's not super difficult. We're gonna go for a knit stitch here. You're just gonna make a loop in your lemon yarn here. You're gonna catch the loop over the needle, pull it through, and then slide the stitch off. Now, this is where this gets a little tricky. We're gonna slide this back onto our left-hand needle. So we have our new yellow stitch here sitting next to our white stitches. And then we're gonna pass 5 stitches over the yellow stitch. So you're gonna use your right-hand needle, your working needle, and you're gonna slip the first one over the end of the needle here. We're doing this 5 times. If you wanna pinch these in your fingers back here, this will help the white stitch to stay nice and tight. So that was 1. We're gonna pass 5 stitches over. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. And this is 5. Okay, now we're gonna knit this stitch again. So we just knit this one with the yellow yarn. That was the very first thing we did. You're going to leave your yellow tail back here. You're not gonna use the short tail. You wanna be attached to your longer tail here. And then you're gonna do a knit stitch. And then we're gonna move on to the next one. So now we're gonna take this, we're gonna knit 1. And then before we do this real quick, we gotta wiggle our stitches around a little bit because we need 5 stitches here. So I'm gonna bring 2 stitches from my left needle and I'm gonna slide them onto my right needle here. So now I have 5 stitches. We're gonna slip this first yellow stitch back onto the left-hand needle. I like to hold this, like I said before, while we're slipping our stitches so that it stays nice and tight. So we're gonna slip all 5 of these stitches over the yellow stitch. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then after our 5th one, we are going to knit this stitch again. Now, so this is going to create a bunch. The reason we do this is it creates a little scallop around our edge. It's super cute when we finish. I know it's a little bit of work here, but it makes a cute scalloped edge around our flower when we're finished. Okay, we're going to do it again. So we're going to go, now we're on our 2nd needle here. So we're going to go knit 1. Then we're going to slip this stitch back onto the left-hand needle. Remember, hold your yarn here. And we're going to slip 5 stitches over. 1, 2, 3. I didn't say before, but I'm really catching this stitch with my pointer finger here to help it not slide off the end of the needle. 3. This is number 4, and this is number 5. There we go. And then we're gonna knit this stitch again. And then I think this is the only one. You know what, I'm gonna move this onto this needle here. We're gonna drop down to 2 needles. There we go. Because it's gonna be a little easier to work over 2 needles. We're only gonna have 5 stitches left when we're done, and then we're just gonna cut our yarn and thread it off to be done. Okay, next one. So we're gonna knit 1 here. We're gonna slip this back. And then we're gonna slip 5 stitches over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to knit this one again. Knit 1, and then we have 6 stitches left, which is perfect. So we're going to knit 1, slip your stitch back, and then we're going to slip 5, pass 5 over. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then knit your final stitch. Give a little tug on your white tail here, just to keep this nice and tight. And then we're gonna get a yarn needle. Okay, we're gonna trim the end here. We really don't need a very long end, maybe like 6 or 8 inches or so will be more than enough. We're gonna thread this through a yarn needle here. And then we're gonna slip all of our stitches onto our yarn tail so that it's gonna catch them so that they don't pull out. But we want to keep going around in the circle. So you can see this was the last stitch. This is the stitch that your yarn tail is coming off of here. So we're going to start with the next stitch in the loop, which is this one over here. So we're going to do this needle first onto the yarn needle. So they're off the knitting needle on the yarn needle, and then you're just going to pull the yarn tail through them. And then we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're going to keep going from this way. So we'll go 1, 2, and then pull this tight. I'm going to trim my white yarn tail here. Pull all your stitches, make sure they're nice and tight. This is going to be the right side, and this is going to be the wrong side. So the only thing we have left to do now is just to weave our tails in. So I'm going to bring this through. I do like to make just a little bit of a knot before I weave my tails in. So I go through any loop of yarn. You can pick whatever you want, and then I just loop back through the loop I just created, and that creates it's a really small little knot. It's not super sturdy, but it's going to help keep your yarn from pulling out. So I'm going to thread this through to the back side now, because we're going to weave our tail in on the back side. And normally I do our rule of 3 when we're weaving in ends, but because there's so few stitches here, you can try to go for 3 stitches in 3 different directions. You may not really have quite that many to work with, and that's okay. And I'm going to attach this to a hat in a few minutes, so I'm not going to weave my yellow yarn tail in yet. You're going to weave all of your tails in unless you need to save one to attach your little flower to something. But this is the first one. Make sure you weave in light colors on like colors. So you want to do your yellow tails on the yellow part of your flower and your white tails on the white part of your flower. Otherwise they're going to show through, and you'll get kind of a crisscrossing of your colors. So we're gonna, same thing, we're gonna take this through onto the underside so that this is on the back for us. The white is a little easier. We have more stitches to work with here. So go for 3 stitches. We might just kind of go around the circle here. I don't know if I'm gonna get 3 in 3 different directions. That's probably about good. And last tail here. That's probably about good. We will trim this piece. And then I'm going to pull this through because when I attach it, this is the front side. So when I go to sew this onto my hat, I'm going to sew it on from the back side. So I'm just going to move this over to the wrong side. But you can see here, this is our cute little strawberry flower. Let me wind this up so you can get a better, there we go. So cute, so simple, so cute. Thanks for joining us today. Come back. I know I said more fall patterns and we'll do some more fall patterns, but I just wanted to do a quick little strawberry flower for you today. But come back and we'll do some more fall patterns soon. And don't forget, if you like today's video, to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.